25 and you haven't figured out your career yet. You're 30 and you're not married. You're 35 and you don't own a house. You're 40 and you're starting over. And there's this feeling in your chest, this quiet panic that whispers, everyone else is ahead of me. I'm running out of time. I'm behind. But what if I told you that behind doesn't actually exist? That the whole idea of being late to life is based on something that isn't even real? Stay with me, because once you see through this illusion, that weight you've been carrying, it just drops. We all grow up with this picture in our heads, a timeline, a path. You're supposed to graduate at 22, get a good job by 25, be married by 28, have kids by 30, buy a house by 35, retire at 65, die at, well, hopefully later. And if you're not hitting these marks, if you're not checking these boxes at the right time, you feel like you're failing, like you're falling behind in some race that everyone else seems to be winning. But here's what I want you to understand. That timeline, someone made it up. It's not natural. It's not written into the universe. It's just a story we tell ourselves. A map that someone drew a long time ago, and we've been following it ever since without ever asking, wait, who said this is the way? Think about it. A tree doesn't worry about being behind. A flower doesn't panic because it bloomed later than the flower next to it. The ocean doesn't rush its waves because it's supposed to hit the shore at a certain time. Nature doesn't work on a schedule. Things happen when they happen. And you know what? You're part of nature. You're not separate from it. You're not a project that needs to be completed by a deadline. You're a process. And processes don't run behind or ahead. They just unfold. But we don't see it that way, do we? We look around and we see everyone else's highlight reel. Sarah just got promoted. Mike just bought a house. Jessica just had her second kid. And there you are, still trying to figure out what you even want to do with your life. And that voice starts up. What's wrong with me? Why haven't I gotten there yet? Why is everyone else so much further along? But here's the thing. There is no there. There's no finish line where you finally arrive and get to relax and say, okay, I made it. I'm successful now. Because the moment you get to one milestone, the timeline just gives you another one. You get the job. Now you need the promotion. You get married. Now you need the house. You get the house. Now you need a bigger house. It never ends. The goalpost keeps moving, and you keep running, and you keep feeling behind. It's like being on a treadmill that someone told you was a path. You're running and running, putting in all this effort, but you're not actually going anywhere. You're just exhausted. And the worst part, you're comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's final cut. You see their wedding photos. You don't see the fights they had the night before. You see their new car. You don't see the debt they're drowning in. You're comparing your messy, complicated real life to their carefully selected moments. And then you wonder why you feel like you're losing. So, where does this whole behind in life thing come from? Why do we all feel this pressure? I'll tell you. It comes from treating life like it's a destination instead of a journey. Like you're supposed to get somewhere and then you're done. We've turned life into a project, a task list, a series of achievements that you're supposed to complete in the correct order at the correct time. But that's not what life is. Life isn't a straight line from birth to death with checkpoints along the way. That's just a story. A map someone drew to try to make sense of the chaos. The truth is much simpler and much stranger. You're already where you're supposed to be. Right now, reading this, with all your achievements and all your mess. This is it. This is life happening. Not the future version, where you finally have it all together. Not the past version, where you wish you'd made different choices. This, now. But we don't want to hear that. Because if this is it, if there's nowhere to get to, then what are we doing? What's the point? And that's exactly the question that cracks everything open. Here's what most people don't understand. And I mean really understand, not just as an idea, but as something you actually feel in your bones. There is only now. That's it. That's all there ever is. The past, it's a memory happening now. The future, it's a thought happening now. Everything, all of it, only ever happens in this moment. You can't live in the past. You can't live in the future. You can only ever live now. And you're always living now. You've never lived in any other time, and you never will. So when you say, I'm behind, what you're really saying is, the story in my head about where I should be doesn't match where I actually am right now. But the story is just a thought, and where you actually are is reality. So which one is real? You're not behind. You're just here, now, living your life. And that's all anyone has ever done or will ever do. The person you think is ahead of you, they're also just here, now. They're not in some magical future place. They're in this same moment you are, just having a different experience of it. But we're so addicted to this idea of getting somewhere. We think that life is about arriving at some point where everything finally feels okay, where we finally feel complete, where we finally feel like we made it. So we're always living in the future, always planning, always working toward something, always thinking, once I get there, then I'll be happy, then I'll relax, then I'll finally be able to enjoy my life. But when you get there, wherever there is, you don't feel how you thought you'd feel. There's a moment of excitement, sure, but then what happens? The mind immediately creates a new there, a new place to get to, a new thing to achieve, because that's what it does. That's its job. It always wants more. And you fall for it again. You think, okay, that thing didn't do it, but this thing will. Once I get this, then I'll finally feel like I'm not behind. But you never get there, because there doesn't exist. It's a carrot on a stick that your mind holds in front of you to keep you running. And the tragedy is this. While you're running toward this imaginary future, you're missing your actual life, the one that's happening right now. You're so busy trying to get somewhere that you forget you're already somewhere. Here, now, alive. So if life isn't about getting somewhere, what is it about? Nothing and everything. Let me explain. A river doesn't flow in order to get to the ocean. It flows because flowing is what rivers do. The ocean is just where the flowing happens to lead. Music doesn't exist for the final note. If it did, the best music would just be one quick note and then silence. But that's not music. Music is the whole thing, the journey, the unfolding. Dancing isn't about getting to a particular spot on the floor. If it was, the best dance would be just walking to that spot as fast as possible and then stopping. But that's not dancing. Dancing is the movement itself. Life is the same. You're not alive in order to get somewhere. You're alive because being alive is what you're doing. This is it. The destination was never separate from the journey. You're like a wave on the ocean, worried that you're behind the other waves. But you're not separate from the ocean. You are the ocean waving. And the ocean isn't going anywhere. It's just here, moving, being itself. But I know what you're thinking. That's nice and poetic, but I have real responsibilities. I have bills to pay. I have things I need to accomplish. I can't just sit around saying, be here now, while my life falls apart. And you're right. I'm not saying abandon your plans. I'm not saying don't have goals. I'm saying don't torture yourself with this idea that you're behind. You can work toward things without hating yourself for not being there yet. You can have goals without using them as weapons against yourself. The problem isn't the goals. The problem is the violence you do to yourself when you don't hit them on time. The problem is the story that says, if I'm not there yet, I'm failing. Because here's the secret. Everything you accomplish in the present moment. You don't achieve things in the future. You can only ever work toward them now. So if you're miserable now because you're behind, you'll be miserable the whole way. And then, even when you get there, you won't enjoy it then, because you'll already be focused on the next thing you're behind on. You're creating a life where you're never allowed to be okay, where you're always failing at an imaginary race. Look at nature. Really look at it. Some trees grow fast, some grow slow. Some flowers bloom in spring, some bloom in fall. Some animals live for a day, some live for 100 years. And none of them are behind. None of them are failing. They're just doing what they do, at the speed they do it, in the time they do it. A turtle doesn't look at a rabbit and think, I'm behind. It just moves at turtle speed, because it's a turtle. You have your own speed, your own timing, your own path. And comparing yourself to someone else's path is like a fish feeling bad that it can't climb a tree. You're not them. You never will be. And they're not you. You're on a completely different journey, even if you're standing in the same room. Your life is going to unfold the way it unfolds. And you can either fight that every step of the way, making yourself miserable, or you can relax into it and see what happens. Because the truth is, you don't actually know what's supposed to happen. You have ideas, you have preferences, but you don't know. That failure you had, maybe it saved you from something worse. That delay, maybe it's putting you in position for something you can't see yet. Or maybe there's no grand plan at all. Maybe things just happen, and you respond, and that's life. So no, you're not behind. You never were. You can't be. Behind implies there's a correct timeline, a right way, a path everyone should follow at the same speed. But there isn't. There's just your life, happening now, at its own pace, in its own strange, messy, beautiful way. And the moment you stop fighting that, the moment you stop judging yourself for not being somewhere you're not, something inside you relaxes. You realize you've been carrying a weight that was never real. You've been running a race that nobody actually started. And you can just stop, breathe, look around, be here. Because this is your life, not the one you think you should be living, this one, the real one, the one that's happening right now,
And it's not behind, it's not ahead. It's right on time. You're exactly where you need to be, even if it doesn't feel like it. Especially if it doesn't feel like it.